In today's video, we are going to see the story of Asia's Titanic, Donyea Paz's tragedy. On December 20, 1987, a catastrophe known as Donyea Paz claimed the lives of an estimated 4,386 individuals. The Donyea Paz ferry was traveling from Leyte Island to Manila, Philippines, twice a week when it collided with the oil tanker Mount Vector. The Vector was hauling hundreds of barrels of petroleum when it collided with the boat, causing the cargo to catch fire, which quickly spread to the ferry. Donyea Paz has a capacity of 1,518 passengers and a crew of 66 people. However, hundreds more passengers were on board who were not mentioned on the ship's registry. At the time of the crash, many people were sleeping. According to one survivor, the lights on board went out minutes after the crash. The Donyea Paz had no life jackets, and the crew did not attempt to gather the passengers. Those on board were forced to jump from the ship and swim through burning seas among burned remains, with others using bags as makeshift flotation devices. The Donyea Paz sank 2 hours after colliding with the Vector, while the Vector sank 4 hours later. In the shark-infested Tablas Strait, both ships sunk in roughly 545 meters of water. That night, an estimated 4,386 people died. Many of them were burned alive. History of Donyea Paz. Donyea Paz was originally known as Himeyori Maru and was built in 1963 by Onomichi Zozan of Onomichi, Hiroshima, Japan. It had a passenger capacity of 608 during its service in Japanese waters. It was sold to Sulpicio Lines, a Filipino operator of passenger ferries, in October 1975. Sulpicio Lines called it Don Sulpicio, and it was eventually renamed Donyea Paz. The ferry was destroyed by fire on June 5, 1979, while en way from Manila to Cebu. Despite the fact that all 1,164 people on board were saved, the ship was beached and ruled a constructive complete loss. Sulpicio Lines repurchased the wreck from the insurers, and the vessel was repaired and put back into service as Donyea Paz. The ship was sailing the route Manila-Tacloban-Catbalogan Manila and vice versa at the time of its disaster, making journeys twice a week. 1987 collision with Mount Vector. Donyea Paz left Tacloban, Leyte, for Manila at 6:30 PST on December 20, 1987, with a stopover at Catbalogan, Samar. The ship was scheduled to arrive in Manila at 4 a.m. the next day, and it was last heard from at 2000 hours. The weather at sea that night was clear, but the sea was rough, according to a survivor. Donyea Paz crashed with Mount Vector, an oil tanker in way from Bataan to Masbate, while majority of the passengers were sleeping. Caltex Philippines held 1,050,000 liters of gasoline and other petroleum goods on board Vector. Vector's cargo ignited during the impact, causing a fire on the ship that spread to Donyea Paz. Survivors described hearing a crash and an explosion, which caused fear on board. Paquito Azabel, one of them, claimed that the flames quickly spread inside the ship and that the sea was ablaze all around it. Another survivor, Philippine Constabulary Corporal Luzgardo Nito, claimed that the lights on board went out minutes after the collision, that there were no life vests on board, that the crewmen were panicking with the other passengers, and that none of the crew gave any orders or attempted to organize the passengers. The life jacket lockers were afterwards claimed to have been closed up. The survivors were forced to jump off the ship and swim through burning seas among burned remains, with others using bags as makeshift flotation devices. Within 2 hours of colliding, Donyea Paz sunk, while Vector sank 4 hours later. In the shark-infested Tablas Strait, both ships sunk in roughly 545 meters of water. Rescue. The explosion of the two ships was observed by sailors, medics, and officials, as well as the captain of a passing inter-island ship, MS Don Claudio, who recovered the survivors of Donyea Paz after an hour. Don Claudio's officers threw a net for the survivors to crawl into. Only 26 people were rescued from the water, 24 were passengers from the Donya Paz and the other 2 were crew members from Vector's 13-man crew. Valeriana Duma, the 25th Donya Paz survivor, was initially unaccounted for by officials, but she subsequently identified herself through the GMA network program Wishko Lang. In 2012, at 14, she was also the youngest Donya Paz passenger to survive. None of the crew members of the Donya Paz survived. Jumping into the scorching waters resulted in burns for the majority of the survivors. Their injuries were treated by doctors and nurses on board the ship. It took 8 hours for Philippine marine officials to learn of the disaster and another 8 hours to launch search and rescue operations, according to reports. Investigation of the incident's causes. Only one apprentice of the Donya Paz crew monitored the ship's bridge at the time the disaster happened, according to the first inquiry performed by the Philippine Coast Guard. Other officers drank beer or viewed TV in the recreational areas of the crew, while the ship's commander watched a film in his stateroom on his Betamax machine. One of the survivors, Luzgardo Nito, testified to a similar situation where he told him of a continuing party of laughing and loud music at the bridge of the ship with the captain, one of his attendants, a fellow soldier who was constabulary in the ship. Survivors said that it may have taken up to 3,000 to 4,000 passengers in Donya Paz. They witnessed passers-by sleeping along corridors, on the deck of the boat, and on cots with 4 or 3 people on them, casualties. The official Donya Paz passenger manifest reported 1,493 passengers and 59 staff members on board, according to the original notification issued by Sulpice Lines. The boat was able to transport 1,424 passengers, according to Sulpicio Lines. On 23 December 87, a new manifesto showed 1,583 passengers and 58 crew members in Donya Paz, 675 people ferry boarded in Tacloban and 908 in Catalogan. However, an unidentified Sulpicio Lines representative informed UPI that tickets were generally bought illegally on the ship at reduced rates since Christmas, and these individuals were not recorded on the manifest. The same official stated that the manifesto does not contain holders of gratis tickets, and unpaid youngsters under the age of 4. On the official manifest, only one of the 21 bodies found were recognized as passengers on the ship 5 days after the disaster. Of the 24 surviving passengers, only 5 were included in the manifestation. The representative of Northern Samar Raul Daza stated on December 28, 1987 that at least 2,000 people were not on the manifesto on board the Donya Paz. On 29 to December 31, 1987, in the Philippine Daily Inquirer edition, the identities of these 2,000 or more missing passengers were revealed. In the crash, at least 79 teachers of public schools died. The National Investigating Office of the Philippines said in February 1988 that there were at least 3,099 passengers and 59 crews on board, resulting in 3,134 onboard deaths, based on interviews with family members. Based on a court record and more over 4,100 compensation claims, the Presidential Task Force report in January 1999 concluded that 4,341 passengers were present. It offers 4,374 deaths on board to remove the 25 remaining passengers, and add 58 staff. When the Vector team added the 11 deceased, the total was 4,385. Reactions and consequences. The disaster was described by President Corazon Aquino as a nationwide tragic drama. Grief is much worse because the tragedy hit Christmas. The formal expression of sympathy was delivered by Pope John Paul II, the Japanese Prime Minister Noboru Takeshita, and the United Kingdom Queen Elizabeth II. Given the estimated death toll, the Donya Paz sinking was called the Time magazine and others the greatest maritime catastrophe during the peacetime of the 20th century. 3 days after the disaster, Sulpicio Lines reported that Doña Paz had been insured in 2019 for $631,000 and was prepared to compensate its survivors in 2019 for the total of $542. Days later, a large demonstration was organized at Rizal Park for hundreds of the victims' relatives, asking that shipowners pay the families of non-manifestant persons and provide the missing persons with full accounting. Notwithstanding, Sulpicio's fault lines were ultimately excused by the Board of Marine Inquiry. Further investigations showed that Vector operated without a license, lookout or adequately certified master. It was the owners of Vector which were obliged to recompense the victims of the collision during 1999, which the Supreme Court of the Philippines decided. The Supreme Court ruled out certain of those complaints made against either Sulpicio Lines or Vector owners, such as the family of Canezal and the family of Macasas, which found that even those families of victims who did not appear on the official manifestation had the right for compensation. Also, financial obligation was removed of Cultex Philippines, who chartered the Vector Memorial. The Pieta Park in Catbalogan celebrates a tribute to the victims of Doña Paz. The park currently acts as a public area for relatives and friends of victims, located near the St. Bartholomew Church and St. Mary's College of Catbalogan.